the next slide. Now, accommodation, the process. We can have accommodation of near vision. Near vision is considered to be any distance below 6 meters. Please notice that. This is very important. You'll be asked questions and then they won't tell you whether it's near object or far object. They'll just give you figures like this and say, someone was sitting down and then looking at a poster on the wall which was 3 meters away from that person. Explain what happens in the person's eye. In that case, they've given you 3 meters. It means in your mind, you should then know that this person is viewing a near object. Now, remember, for near object, let's burst the bubble, we will need a convex lens. Why? Because we want more water. And what does more water do? More water bends light more. More. Remember. Why do we need a convex lens? So that we don't forget. Imagine you are driving. Why do we need a convex lens for near object? Imagine you are driving and all of a sudden you are at full speed. All of a sudden you see an object nearby. This is near. An object is near. What do? Do you brake your car very slowly as if you're going to a marriage? Or do you brake strongly so that the car comes to a quick stop? What do? I'm sure you have to brake very strongly. Why do you brake very strongly? You brake very strongly because the object was near. So driving, near object, braking, strong. Let's relate this. The same way, more water, near object, for what? More bending. Near object, strong braking, more braking. Near object, more bending, more refraction, more water. So, if ever you are thinking of near object, remember that while in the car you needed to brake very strongly. So if you're thinking of near object when you're viewing, also remember that the light rays entering your eyes, because the car had to brake very strongly, it means the light rays will also need to bend very strongly when they get into your eye. So near object, more bending. For more bending, I need more water. You should always remember it that way. Now, again, we already remember from the previous slide how we can achieve a convex lens. The players are simply the suspensory ligaments and the ciliary muscles. But sometimes it gets a little bit tricky, because if I should ask you, in this case here, we see the suspensory ligaments are slack. In this case here, how do we get slack suspensory ligaments? It's most confusing when we think of far object, when the suspensory ligaments will have to be taut, tense. What must the ciliary muscles do, for example, to make the suspensory ligaments tense? To make them tense, most of you will surely think that the ciliary muscles will need to contract. Because in our mind, when we hear contracting, we also think of pulling. That's what it means for us. But in this case, it's a bit tricky. Contracting doesn't necessarily mean pulling to make it tense or taut. No. Contracting here will actually make the suspensory ligaments relaxed. How does it do that? Or how do you remember this? Imagine you come back home, you have been a failure in your exam and everything, you think the world is ending, this world is cruel, you need to end your life. Okay, what do? You put one end of a rope on your neck, and where do you put the other one? I'm sure this is a question that most of you already know the answer. You've tried it before. You put the other one on the ceiling. Now, when you attach that rope on the ceiling, that rope represents your suspensory ligaments. Okay, the rope will represent the suspensory ligaments, and there are two things you could do. You can either stand up on your toes, or you can go relaxed, you fall back on your feet. You raise up on your toes, you fall back relaxed. Now, when you raise up on your toes like that, what happens to that rope? Is it tense or it's slack? I'm sure the rope is slack because you are rising up. The rope gets slack, it gets loose. But at the same time, while you are rising on your toes, what is happening to the muscles of your feet? How are they? Are they contracted or are they relaxed? For sure, when you are in that up position, the muscles of your feet are contracted. Those muscles of your feet represent your ciliary muscles. In this way, I want you to realize that when you are up, your ciliary muscles are contracted. What happens to the suspensory ligament, the rope? The rope will be loose. It will be slack. So that you should always remember, guys, that when we say contracted, it means that suspensory ligaments will be slack, relaxed, slack. So let's not get confused. Now, when you come back down, what will happen to that suspensory ligament? It will pull, and surely by that time you'll be saying hello, hello to your ancestors there, okay? Because you already hung yourself. But in the meantime, as you come back down, what's happening to the muscles in your feet? They are relaxed. It means that the suspensory ligaments will be taut or tight or tense by then. Okay, so when I come down, ciliary muscles in my feet relaxed, suspensory ligaments tensed. When I go up, ciliary muscles in my feet contract, suspensory ligaments slack. So please remember that. That's how it is done. Now, let's then look at accommodation of near object, near vision. When we are viewing an object which is less than 6 meters from us, the ciliary muscles, like we said, first we put in our mind, which kind of lens do I need for near object? I have two choices. Do I need a convex lens or a concave lens? That's the first thing we must ask ourselves. To answer this question, we need to remember, oh, they say near object. I'm driving, I see a car, an object all of a sudden. How do I brake? I brake strongly. It means that in this case, I'll need a lens that will bend light strongly because the object was near. I needed to brake strongly. So, which lens between the two, A and B, will bend light strongly? Oh, I remember that the convex one has more water. I'm sure more water will bring more bending. So I go with A. I'm sure we see the way I chose it. The first thing I ask myself is, which kind of lens do I need? Is it A or B? Is it convex or concave? Before I go to my lenses, I remember myself driving. I see an object nearby. What do? I need to brake strongly. It means that I'll need which kind of lens? The kind of lens that bends light strongly. And the kind of lens that bends light strongly is the one that has more water, because more water, more bending, then strong bending of light, more refraction. I'll need a convex lens. So I'm sorted with my lens. Before you start explaining accommodation, please get sorted with the kind of lens that you need first. That's the first thing I did. And then when I'm sorted with the kind of lens I need, I then ask myself, how do I get there? How do I get to convex? The moment I start explaining how I get to convex, then I'm already writing my essay. Very simple. So I know my kind of lens before I start my essay. Very, very important. Then I start telling myself, how do I get there? Let's see how we get there. I've put this point here in red because I'm not going to be much concerned about that. So let's visit the other points. So how do I get to a convex lens? That's my question right now. How do I get to a convex lens? For that to happen, ciliary muscles must contract, remember, because now I'm standing on my feet. Muscles in my feet must contract. Ciliary muscles will contract, and when these ciliary muscles will contract, they will rise up like that. Will become more dome. And what will happen? Next thing, the suspensory ligaments, because of that, will be set free, will be set loose. The suspensory ligaments will slacken, or they will get loose, and the effect that will be felt on the lens will be such that, or effect that will be felt on the lens will be such that the tension on the lens will decrease. And what is the result of all of this? Since our balloon has been let loose, I was pulling first, the balloon will be stretched. If I relax the hands, then the balloon will be loose. Hence, the lens will become more convex. And what does that convex means? It means more water in the path of the light. What will more water do to the bending of the light? It will bend it more. Since there's more bending, what happens? It means that the refractive power of the lens would have increased. And this will be done such that the light is brought to a focus on the retina so that a clear image is formed on the retina. So that is what happens. Clear image forms on the retina. Let's take it back. We are asking ourselves first, which kind of lens do we need? We have agreed, we were driving and the object was near, so we needed to brake very strongly. It means we'll need a lens that breaks light, that bends light strongly, or we'll need a lens with a high refractive power. For that to be gotten, it means we need the kind of lens that has more water, because more water means more bending. Okay, so I need a convex lens. For then, second question, how do I get there? How do I get to a convex lens? Ciliary muscles contract. The effect, suspensory ligaments slacking. The effect, tension on the lens decreases. The effect, the lens becomes more convex. And what does it do? It increases the refractive power of the lens to form a clear image on the retina. So that is what happens. Now let's look at accommodation of far object, far vision. This is any object from 6 meters and above. Anything from 6 meters upwards, please, you should know you are looking at a distant object. We're going to do the same thing we did here for near object, but this time not too much explanation because most of it has been covered. If you have understood near object, then far object is simply the opposite. But again, for us to start discussing, we need to ask ourselves the question, for far object, what kind of lens do I need? Before we answer that, we go back again to our scenario of driving. This time you are driving and you see an object very far, but you need to brake your car such that it comes close to the object. Okay? How do you brake? The object is very far. Do you brake strongly? The answer is no. You'll have to brake just slightly so that the car reaches around the object. Okay, the object is far, you have to brake slightly. So because of slight braking, it means I'll also need a lens for far object. I'll also need a lens that will also bend light rays only slightly, not strongly. Okay. So then, how do I do that? It means I need a concave lens, a stretched kind of lens. I'll need a concave lens with less water. Less water means less bending, only slightly. Okay? Because this time I'm driving, I see an object very far. I need to brake slightly. Second question. So we've answered the question of which kind of lens do we need. We finally found our lens, concave lens. Second question, how do I get there? How do I get to my concave lens? It means I've started writing my essay. First, ciliary muscles relax. Remember, I was in that standing position. Now that I relaxed, it falls back, and when the ciliary muscles relax, what will happen? The suspensory ligaments will become taut or tight. Okay, they become taut or tight, and the effect of that will be such that, because they are now tight, very, very tight there. Okay, my suspensory ligaments are tight. You see, these ones are very straight, such that they will now pull on the lens from every direction. They will pull on the lens too much. Hence, the tension on the lens will increase. And since that happens, the lens will become stretched, or the lens will become less convex, otherwise the lens becomes concave. And since it becomes concave, it has less water in the path of the light. Remember, the bending will be less. It means the refractive power of the lens will decrease. The refractive power will decrease, and this will happen such that the lens, the light rays entering the eye are bent only slightly. Because I'm driving, I see an object very far, the light rays are bent slightly because I'm braking slightly, and brought to a focus on the retina such that a clear image is formed on the retina. Okay, so that's far object. What happens? Ciliary. First, I need what kind of lens? I'm driving and see an object that is far. I must brake slightly. It means I must get the lens that bends light rays slightly. That will be a concave lens or less convex lens. Less water, less bending, less refraction. So I now know the kind of lens I need. How do I get there? First, ciliary muscles must relax. It will cause the suspensory ligaments to become taut. The tension on the lens will increase. The lens becomes concave or less convex. And since it's bending, it has less water in the path of light or in the road of light, it will cause less bending of light. It means the lens, the refractive power of the lens will decrease. The refractive power of the lens decreases, and light rays are brought to a focus on the retina such that a clear image is formed on the retina. So that is accommodation.